Welcome back to How to Run a Law Firm in 2025. On last episode, Lauren and I talked about our law firm finances and our personal finances. And today we're going to talk about a tangentially related topic of keeping our expenses at a reasonable amount, try to keep them as low as possible. And one of the ways that we do that, it ties into the financial conversation that we had last episode. So it makes a really good companion episode. You don't necessarily need to listen to all these episodes in order if you're listening to this series, but we do recommend that in addition to this episode, you go after this, queue up the last one if you didn't hear it. Well, it's about doing things ourselves is one of the ways that we keep expenses low. And in particular, in my practice, I like to do that because I'm a mission-driven law firm trying to have affordable legal services to my clients who are long outpriced by legal services. And I pass along all those efficiency savings to them. And if I did do more outsourcing, then I would have to charge more because I would have to pay those outsourced people. Now, Lauren and I, we've talked about many times how we outsource our taxes. I think that's really important. But even for things like bookkeeping, we both use wave accounting. And that's one of the things that we do ourselves. So I'll talk about in a moment how I do that. But Lauren, how about you start us off with, how you're managing bookkeeping at your firm?
Yeah, so wave accounting has been great. I think it's a pretty good bang for the buck, pretty inexpensive. I know a lot of folks will use QuickBooks. I used QuickBooks years and years ago, and it was a little overkill. And I like the simplicity of Wave. It gets the job done, but maybe QuickBooks has a new version out there. I know there are several law firm owners I've talked to that really love QuickBooks, but I think anything that just makes sense to you. I go in twice a month and go through and organize all of the new transactions. So I go through and make sure that all of the expenses are categorized correctly. Wave does a really great job of sort of learning, every time it says Google email, that's my email I'm paying for. So I don't have to do a lot at this point. It's really learned, but just making sure that it's done everything accurately. And then I also go through for all of the revenue because in Colorado, unlike Illinois, we do have trust account requirements. So I cannot withdraw out of my trust account until the money is earned. And so as it's earned during the month, it gets deposited into my operating account. And then I do just a reconciliation to make sure, the $1,200 from Joe Smith's case, I can see that's in there. And because I don't want client information being given to my accountant ultimately, because he will get this report that I'm putting together in Weave, I just go in for that $1,200 deposit that I can see and put the invoice number so that I have a reference. So if I ever had somebody ask or needed to go back and double check something, I could say, oh, that $1,200 was from Joe Smith's case. This deposit was from this other person's case. But ultimately, all my accountant's going to care about is that there was revenue that was earned. So I go through and do all my expenses, all of my revenue. And then I run a report to see what all the revenue was for the period that I'm looking at. So I do it on the 10th and 25th. So it'll be the periods in between there. And then I run that through the profit first method, which we talked about in the last episode, and allocate each one of those dollars and then pay myself, pay my credit card off. But Wave makes it super easy to keep track of everything. And then also their reporting is not overkill. I really use profit and loss and I use cash flow. Those are really the two that I kind of look at just to see where all the funds are flowing. How much have I paid the government this year? I always have to look at cash flow for that one. Then I hate looking at that report to make sure I've got all my tax information right. But that's it. And then I will export the profit and loss statement at the end of the year and send that to my accountant. So he has all that information to do the taxes ultimately. But it makes it really easy. And I will say on a payroll perspective too, as I know you don't use that, Matthew, but Wave does have that option. It's like $30 a month. I found that it was the most economical for, again, just a solo. I don't have employees. I don't have all this super complicated payroll, but I do need it to run payroll. So it automatically withdraws it out of my operating account. It deposits it into my personal bank account. And then it also, what I love about it was it will remind me when I need to pay the taxes. So I'll get an alert that says, hey, this tax is due by, January 31st, the end of the month. Make sure you pay it. And then I can go in, it gives me the number I need and I can mark it as paid. So it does help from that reporting standpoint as well if you do have any payroll requirements. How do you use it, Matthew? Is it any different?
Yeah, I mean, pretty similar, although I'm learning stuff from you, Lauren, here too, right? Like, this is what's great is even if nobody listens to this, you and I learn stuff from each other. So yeah, eventually, either in 2025 or 2026, I'm going to switch over to S Corp for taxation purposes and start paying myself. And I didn't realize that Wave Accounting a platform I'm already using to do what you're doing, just to like categorize income and expenditures, that I could just leverage that for my payroll. I know my bank offers some version of that, but it's definitely more than $30 a month. And so if I can only spend $30 a month to be in a platform I'm already in, like, and I don't need to add another thing to my tech stack, which at the time of recording, I've realized I was not counting apps on my phone as part of my tech stack, but it totally is, like, for software, and I'm over 60 software solutions. I mean, this is ridiculous. And so, like, I don't want another software solution. So if I could just do it in Wave, that's great. The the auto, like, identifying what sort of category that it's in, since I'm only, like, 3 years in, like, it's still sort of learning some things. It doesn't get everything right, and that's AI, Lauren, that's another way you're using AI.
Oh my gosh, that's right.
So there you go, you're using AI in your bookkeeping,
It's everywhere.
in your accounting software, and that's, like, even, like, machine learning based AI, so I gotta imagine it could get better if they incorporate some large language models in there. So, yeah, I mean, saves a little bit of time. It doesn't take a lot of time. I still have, time blocked every Monday at noon, 15 minutes to go through and categorize. But I've gotten so fast at that, and frankly, I don't have a lot of, like, expenses, and I have Stripe set up so that I'm only getting money in once a week. So it's all like going into Stripe, and then it's all just aggregately depositing into my accounts on Wednesdays. And so I actually don't have a lot to do. So the fact that you're only doing it twice a month makes me think, hey, maybe I just do it twice a month now, because, I don't really need to, like, I'm not spending a lot of time. Like, how much time are you spending when you're going through and you're categorizing? Like, is it 5 minutes, 10 minutes? Like, what is it?
Yeah, the categorization is probably 5 to 10 minutes. I have sort of a list of things that I do. So I'll download my bank statements so that I always have a record of those. Again, should anybody need them and the bank doesn't have them available anymore. I categorize everything. I put it into the different buckets in my spreadsheet, and then I make sure that the transfers are set up. But that all probably takes me half an hour. So yeah, the categorization is really fast at this point.
Yeah, and this ties into our earlier conversation, because when we are going through as true solopreneurs and categorizing all of our expenditures and all of our income, it's forcing us to consciously pay attention to how much money are we bringing in, how much money is going out. And so even if you're not tracking it in a spreadsheet, that you totally should, like, that helps us have a financial, like, we take the financial temperature of our business. And that's another place to identify, oh, like, I'm spending a lot of money on X thing, or this software subscription went up or something, when even if you're just ignoring when the charge comes through, although I get an email for literally every charge. I have those automated set up through my bank accounts. Like, I'm able to identify, like, maybe is there a way I could cut that out, or can I reduce a subscription, or is there something like that? Because when you're looking at and you're tracking your finances in your firm, you're able to identify ways that you can reduce costs, because that's one of the ways you can increase profitability as a small law firm owner, is you can make more money, bring in more revenue, or what you could do is you could reduce your costs. And so that's like, when I was starting my practice, I think the first year, like, my annual expenses were less than $5,000, or like my fixed operating expenses. I did spend a little bit more on, like, I tried some marketing things, I tried some other stuff. So, like, I think my overall expenses were closer to $6,000, not including what I paid myself that year, which was not a lot of money. Now I have, like, just one subscriber paying me, like, what I made my first year. It's kind of crazy to think about. But that's one of the ways you could keep your costs low. When you keep your costs and expenses low, it just makes, I think it de-stresses running your business when, like, what your fixed costs are, and keeping them low. And yeah, sure. Does that mean that, I'm doing the marketing, that I'm doing the biz dev, that I'm doing the bookkeeping? Yeah, but if it only takes 5 minutes, 10 minutes twice a month, that's not a big deal. What are some other ways, Lauren, that you're trying to keep your expenses low?
Yeah, I do as much as I can. I love being in the weeds of the business, so I don't mind doing the bookkeeping. I think it certainly helps, like you said, me stay on top of the expenses that go up. I can sometimes disregard the emails that, like, Google sent saying that my price was going to go up, and then I went in and went, why is this twice as much as it was last month? But then I can look at it and it doesn't go right 12 months or 24 months, and I'm like, oh, I've been paying this and not using it. So I like being in the weeds, and feeling like I have a bit more control over the finances. I do all the marketing myself. It's a lot of creating videos and holding my phone up to my face and doing the editing on my own and posting it. Doing all of the, LinkedIn post, all of that. I mean, I do most everything. I think the only thing that I outsource is the tax, like accounting aspect of it. And I'm sure that there are folks out there who hate doing that stuff. I personally love doing most all of it. So it doesn't bother me. It's a little bit of a change of my brain waves that I'm not thinking about being a lawyer. I'm thinking about being a business person. So I like the differentiation of my time, but I just haven't been able to justify the expense, quite frankly. I mean, I know what my expenses are. They're higher than Matthew, so I'm always jealous when he tells how very little his are. But I realize that, there are in my particular practice areas, there are softwares that I need that aren't available like through the state of Illinois, right? So I don't have those kinds of resources. So I have to pay them and to be able to make the business run profitably. But when I look at, paying a marketing firm $1,500, $3,000 a month, like I can't justify that. Like marketing is fun. I get all these emails. I'm sure you do, Matthew, right? I get these cold emails of like, can we add 15 to 20 new clients? I'm like, no, I don't want 15 to 20 new clients. I'm good. Like I'm in a good spot. So I just can't justify the expense right now. And those expenses are steep, man. Several $1,000s for someone to market when I feel like there's such great low cost, no cost options out there. As long as you put the time and consistency in, that's where I really feel like I'm investing in my business. And I'd rather keep that money, in the business and in my pocket.
Yeah, it's the mindset of sustainability or growth. And you could kinda have both, right? But, like, and I truly believe, I actually do, I've been convinced that if I wanted to, take out a business loan and spend 20K on marketing and advertising this year, I could probably double my business. Probably, right? But, like, if I actually doubled my business, what would that mean? Like, would I have to hire somebody? Would I have to do other things? Like, I have flexibility in my life right now. I could be the parent that when the kid is sick at daycare, I could go pick her up. And if I doubled my business, if I had to hire somebody, I wouldn't actually be doubling what I put in my pocket. And so having a sustainable, slow growth curve is the mindset that I'm in with my business. I am not trying to be $1 million law firm. 500,000 will be enough for me. Once I hit that, I think I'm going to be like, okay, like this is the sweet spot. And on my current trajectory, like I will be at around the 5 to 6 year mark when I hit that. Right. And that's not bad. And so like, will I be working more? Will I be outsourcing a little bit more? Like to hit that? Maybe, but not like a full-time hire type of person, which is a tease at our next conversation for the next episode on how we're thinking about outsourcing. But that's where I'm at. I'm like, I have a lifestyle. I want to maintain that lifestyle. I would love to save and put more money away, but not increase the lifestyle that we have. Now, my wife has a slightly different opinion than me on that. I mean, like that's it, but I think having that mindset is really important because it allows you to make certain strategic decisions in your business that will be different. Like, would it be cool to say I have $1 million law firm? Like, you have to ask yourself, like, what does that mean? Like if am I pocketing 200,000, but if I'm $1 million law firm, I'm maybe pocketing 300 or 400. Is that really worth it? Or would you like to just make 5 to 600 and pocket 3 to 400, after all the other sorts of expenses. So you got to think about that and make a mindset decision. And if you're in the mindset of sustainability, lifestyle, supporting a lifestyle, still putting some money away, but like the lifestyle is what matters, then you're going to mesh more with what Lauren and I are talking about. Now, that's not to say you couldn't take everything we're talking about and also apply some of these, attorney, law firm coaches, methodologies of marketing and advertising. But for us, I mean, it's just that's not why we do what we do. And that's not the mindset that we're in. I don't want to talk for you, Lauren, but that's the sense I got from you.
These stupid Instagram ads about, yes, build $1 million, $10 million law firm. And you sit there and go, I don't know. Am I not doing it? It's just me. I'm not anywhere near that. And you have to ask, and I had to sit down and did it with, my partner too, of like, what's enough for us? Like, are we just going to be on the treadmill and continue to hit faster, faster, faster? Make more money, make more money, make more money. But at what expense? It may not just be the operating expense of your business or hiring somebody, but at what life expense are you going to have? And so I'm at the same boat, and so I'm so glad we're having this conversation and so many conversations, because I think we need more voices out there who go, I'm just okay being solo. Like, I'm just okay not having associates. I don't want staff. Like, I just don't want the extra overhead. I don't want the stress. I don't want to hire people. I don't want to manage people. Like, no, thank you. For, again, what costs? It maybe gives me 10% more in my pocket. Like, not worth it. I'd rather be able to take a half day off when I just don't feel like working. So I think it's really important when you run your own business, if that's your goal, great, go after it and have the $10 million business. Like, you do you, that's amazing. But you don't have to feel that way. And that's certainly not the only definition of success. So really knowing, for you, what is enough? And yeah, if you hit it, I think, Matthew, I was on the same trajectory about 5, 6 years in. I kind of hit that sweet spot and went, I'm good. Like, I'm really good at this point. Did have my best sales month so far. Whenever this airs, maybe that will have been trumped. And you know what? It was amazing to celebrate. And I felt super proud and had that moment of like, I sold more than in a month than I sold in my first 2 years. Like, just one of those wow moments.
Yeah.
And then went, and now I have to do all this work. Like, now I'm stressing because I have way more work to do. And would I want to sustain this? Not really. Like, it's great to have a flash in the pan for the month and ride those coattails and be really excited about it. But man, no, I don't want to be doing that constantly. So yeah, really being able to know what your definition of success is and build a business around that. And it doesn't have to look like anyone else's.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes me think of, I've talked to some folks lately about creating I gotta be careful about what I say here, creating a software solution that tackles a lot of the problems that currently exist for true solos who are trying to ditch the billable hour or have ditched it, and like not have a million software solutions and everything, but not try to be an all-in-one solution like your typical practice management solutions. And one of the things on the product roadmap for that potential company one day that I may or may not be involved with, frankly, because like I don't have enough time, is like allowing lawyers like us to lean into the true solo of it all. But part of being in this platform means like when your client needs an estate planning attorney, when they need a business lawyer, when they need that the referral fees, if they can be there, the referrals period, like other attorneys on platform, like it allows you to take like a big firm or larger firm type of approach where you have different, expertise in different areas and different jurisdictions, and just make that actually part of the platform that you're using to run your law firm. Does that sound like something that would interest you, Lauren?
That's super interesting. Yes, I'm very intrigued because I think a lot of the resources out there for attorneys, which is fine, I mean, I get it, have historically been towards medium to big firms. And however you define medium or even small. I mean, some people think small is 50 people, which is insane to me, but right, they're geared towards that. And I get it because the software company is likely going to make more money, right? There's more bodies, you're paying for more things, and they do have different needs and requirements and logistically have a lot more going on. But I think that, solos sort of get left out and we don't have a natural way to create that connection other than being out and networking, which can take a lot of time. And, it's hard I have found it hard to find folks who think similarly. I don't know if you, feel that way, Matthew, finding other attorneys who are mission driven, who aren't using the billable hour. It can be really hard to create that network on your own. So yeah, having something that's out there that you can tap into would be a huge value.
Right. In particular, if you're already using that piece of software, you're probably already in this mindset, right? Because it would be purpose built for something like that rather than just trying to be another all-in-one solution, right? Yeah, yeah. I mean, and I don't know other lawyers because most of them are just lurkers, as I'm sure you've experienced as a legal podcast host. Like, yeah, every once in a while, somebody reaches out to you like, oh, this is so cool. And I'm like, I've had them on my podcast because like they've been inspired to like do the thing. But like, with the hundreds of, of listeners, with the tens of thousands of downloads of the pod, you'd think I'd have more interaction from folks, but I don't. So if you're listening and you're lurking, Lauren and I would love to hear from you.
Yes, please. Yes.
There's dozens of us, maybe there's hundreds of us. I've interacted with close to 100 lawyers who are like us, Lauren, but I know there's more out there. I just haven't interacted with them. Man, let's talk about a huge thing, and that is being a virtual law firm without an in-person office. Like that is, if you just look at like the line items for most law firms, having a brick and mortar location is a major expense.
Yep.
And you don't have to have that anymore.
Nope.
You
And
want to
I
talk?
think, yeah, clients love it. I don't think I've ever had someone, at least to my face, say they didn't hire me because I didn't have an actual office. They really loved when I was like, "No, I have a virtual office. I come to you. So where do you want to meet? As long as it's public location, got to be aware of my safety." And everybody usually is really respectful about that. They love it. And like you said, I using these things that may appear when you look at the traditional model or you talk to, most of the folks in the profession, you have to check off these boxes and you don't, it can be very easy to feel less than, or like, I'm not a real attorney. I don't have a office you can go to. But really, when you pass those benefits on to the client, it really makes you a better attorney, I think, and more client focused. And so I have toyed with it for years. I'm like, I need an office. I'm not legit yet. That voice still gets in my head too. But this last year, something happened where it clicked and I was like, I don't care anymore. I'm embracing it's totally virtual. And clients love it because I can serve them better and get to where they are and they don't have to drive across town. And like you, Matthew, I tell them I'm passing the savings on to you. You're not paying for my, you know, 30th floor, marble floor, beautiful law office, which I love visiting, but, my clients don't wanna pay for that.
Yeah. Yeah, and what I do on occasion is I'll do house visits, or we'll meet at the local coffee shop or, like, we'll meet somewhere local, and that's always more convenient for the client, and they can't believe it. They're like, Really? Like, you'll come over? Like, to pick up the original? Because in certain circumstances, you kinda need an original or you get a check from, like, a real estate transaction, and it's like, "Oh, I'm already gonna be there, or I'm gonna go pick up my check, so I might as well pick up yours," right? Um, and and they just love that customer service, and, like, here's the thing, like, I could see some lawyers who, like, charge their clients a lot of money, and they're serving a super high net worth individual or like a CEO of a company or something, and then, like, that person may look down on them for doing something like that. I'm not serving those clients. I'm serving everyday people and small business owners who are also, like, getting into the weeds in their business, and they get it and they appreciate it. So part of it is like, who are your ideal customers and who are you serving? And if there's good overlap there, then that's great. Look, I've had some clients who they're looking for a deal and they want white glove service. And I've just had to tell them, like, look, like, that's not like that. This is a different kind of law firm. Another reason why I'll do in-person, like, visits and I'll do house visits from time to time is sometimes that person has a spouse or a partner, or if it's like a signing that requires witnesses or something, there's other people there. I once did a simple estate plan signing, at, like, a volunteer board meeting because it's like, that's great. Like, my witnesses are gonna be there. I'm already volunteering for this thing. I was like, "Yeah, I'll come. Let's do it." And I was so on board for that because that's almost like marketing for me. Now here's, like, 10 other people that are like, "Hey, like, what's happening here? Oh, this is my lawyer." He does, board meeting visits to, like, get stuff done and on a weeknight on an e in the evening, right? And so why not? Like, you might as well do something like that. It's just marketing. Like, I think of all those sort of opportunities as, like, doing the house visit, doing that. Well, they're gonna leave a great review, or they're gonna talk about, me so positively because I left a good impression because I went out of my way. Now, granted, 80% of my business is local, even though I'm a virtual law firm, but people hire you because they know, like, and trust you, so I'm able to do that for certain clients. For me, I do have, like, a local WeWork style place, and I can't remember if I've talked about it or not in previous episodes, but it's called Brick and Mortar. It's very, local to the Chicago area, so you're not gonna find them in any other place unless you're in the Chicago suburbs and the north suburbs in particular. I think they're expanding more west. Uh, it's $45 a month for a mailbox at a place that I could actually go and meet clients because I could rent a conference room for $25 for an hour, and I think the day passes, at least at the time of recording, are $25 if I just wanna work there for the day, and, like, it may even be it might be more, it might be less, but, like, whatever the weekly or monthly rate is, it's like a fraction of that, right? So if I wanted to work there every day, maybe it comes down to, like, 5 or $10 a day, right? It's, like, much more affordable. So even if I wanted to go into an office every day, it's not that expensive. And my potential clients are at that office, right? Because, like, we're talking about solopreneurs, small business owners, or just, like, people who are, like, working for a company remotely and they want an in-person office space. There's another one local called Venture X, but they skew more higher end. So they're looking for, like, that enterprise company that has local employees that they could have like a home base where they could all go together. So I'm not going to pay that high monthly rate, but I will pay this local one. And what's really cool is I could bike, I could scooter, I could walk to this location. Walking would be like 25 minutes, but I could walk, if I really wanted to. And when I'm in town, or I'm going to the bank, which doesn't happen a lot, but it does happen sometimes if I need to get cash, which is rare. If I'm going to, the grocery store, if I'm going to other places, like I could check my mail. Like I don't have to go out of my way to check my mail because everything's in town. So if you live in a smaller town and you have that kind of opportunity, like it's like having an office without having an office. And I could actually have like a cool looking address on my business card. I don't, but like when you search for my firm, like it comes up and it's like not a home and in Google Maps, right? So that's cool too. And it's only costing me $45 a month. And so that is an option. And that frankly, I help clients start businesses, and I mean, they're paying thousands of dollars a month if they're a brick and mortar location. So I've seen what those costs are. And I tell them how, like, if you keep expenses low with everything else, but if you need a location, like I can't help you with that one too much. I can help you negotiate the lease, but I can't, you're going to need to spend that kind of money.
Yeah, I feel very fortunate that we live in a time where it's not needed. I think COVID actually helped. It was one of the benefits that came out of COVID was we all got a lot more comfortable with virtual. And yeah, most of my clients even now, although I offer it all the time, want, oh no, Zoom's fine. They're in the middle of their day and have kids running around or having a break from work. So yeah, it really is just serving the clients you want to serve and how is it going to be easiest and most convenient for them. So yeah, I'm glad I don't have that line item on my books. My biggest one, and this, I don't know about you, Matthew, with Stripe, my biggest expense is the damn credit card processing fees. It makes it easy for clients to pay, right? Everybody has a card, especially when it's, a bigger chunk of change. Sometimes they don't have the cash available. So I don't want to take it away. I definitely don't want to be dealing with checks and like depositing checks in the bank. Like, please don't send me a check. That's annoying to me. But, not everybody has the ability to do it through ACH. Like, they don't have the funds readily available. That's my biggest line item in terms of expenses. And part of me kind of feels like, well, when that gets big, that just means I'm selling more. So, it's not a fixed one in terms of I'm going to have to pay this even if I have not a dollar coming in. If I don't have a dollar coming in, I'm not going to have that expense. But that for me is my biggest line item. And I don't know, other than making everybody do ACH, and I feel like I'll lose clients because of that. It's how we keep expenses low is really assessing, do I need this expense? Is there a way I can cut the cost? Is there something else that does it? And, for me and credit card processing fees, it is what it is. It's a part of doing business, but that's my biggest line item. What is yours?
No, Lauren, I'm so glad you brought that up because I don't need to think about that number. And that is definitely my largest expense. Now, it's not a fixed operating expense, so I
Yep.
still think it's accurate to say what my fixed operating expense number is. But if I factor that in, my operating expenses are going to be much more, right?
Yeah.
Because like
Yeah.
3% of like what my revenue is, like, geez, that's a large number, right? Totally just worth it. Cost of doing business. I don't even I don't like to even think about that number because it's the opportunity cost of zero friction for payment is just totally worth it, right?
Yeah.
100% worth it. Like, even if they made it 4%, please don't make it 4%. Like, I mean, I think there's enough competition in the space that I could find like another provider. I frankly, I have an account with Confido Legal. If I ever needed to do like credit card payments or ACH transfers or something that there is a percentage taken, but it needs to go into a trust account, I have an account with Confido Legal for exactly that purpose. And if that ever happened with Stripe, I know I could, like, if Stripe increased the prices, I could just go to Confido Legal because I think they're at a competitive price point. So I think instead of like, 2.9%, they're like 2.95 or like 3% or something. And they don't take the 30 cents per transaction.
Right.
So I would just go to a competitor at that point. And I would have to stop using Sweet Dash because Confido Legal doesn't integrate. But I don't love Sweet Dash at the end of the day. It's a 7 out of 10. Like, it's good. But it's not like, I wish there was a better solution, which is why I've been having these conversations with people about maybe building a better solution. So yeah, I mean, like that, those are the big things about keeping expenses low, because hiring people and outsourcing can get expensive. I think there are ways that it can be done right. And we're going to talk about that in our next episode. Anything else you want to cover on keeping costs down?
No, just I think we talked about this in a past episode, but just a reminder to regularly assess it. Like we just talked about, at least, a couple times a month looking at what the cost is and as of now, but I do it twice a year to sit down and really think, do I need to be spending on all of these things? So really baking that into your processes so that you are double checking, because like we talked about in our tech episodes, right? All of these software companies are adding new features all the time, and you might find that now your Google Workspace has a calendar in it. So do you really need a separate calendar or whatever it is? So just making sure that you are assessing not only what the cost is and staying on top of that more diligently, but do you really need everything?
Uh, a great final tip that reminded me of a couple more things. If you're paying for something monthly versus paying for something annually, like it might make sense to just pay for it monthly for a few months, see how you like it, see if you're using it. And if you're not, unsubscribe. But if you are, think about upping it to that annual subscription because you can maybe save 10, 15, 20%. Having said that, I don't necessarily practice what I preach there because that formula software has always been so affordable. Like right now, I think it's $29 a month. Like, and I'm like, well, am I really going to keep using this? And I've been a subscriber since like day one of my practice for 3 years, right? So like my total annual spend is $348. And like, I might be able to get that down to like 300 if I just lock in for a year. So maybe I'm going to have to go do that. Maybe I have to eat my own medicine and I'm gonna have to go and just subscribe to that annually because I'm leveraging it not necessarily every month, but every quarter. And so I definitely make my money back on the monthly subscription, but I could save another $50 if I do that. And it's not like that $50 is gonna make or break my practice, but cumulatively over time with other strategies like that, that's something to consider. And the last thing I'll say about keeping expenses low is when you are making purchases, like in the last episode, we talked about credit cards. When you're making purchases, buy things on a deal. Don't get things at the exact price that you need. That's why I maintain a list. I also have a business Costco membership in addition to having a Amazon Prime for Business account. And I maintain lists on there so I get notified if something goes on sale. That's something that's going to help me with my practice. And another great way you could see if you're getting a deal, if like, say you really do need something, is there's a website called camelcamelcamel.com. It's just camel 3 times in a row. And it's a website that tracks the price of things on Amazon. And so you copy and paste like the URL or the share link from that item. And you can see like the pricing over the however long that item's been listed. So you can know whether or not you're getting a deal or a good, or like you're paying more for the item based on its historical pricing data. So that's a really cool hack to be like, oh yeah, like this is a good deal right now. And I do need a new cable because this other cable went out or something. So yeah, that's my final tip on this topic. Lauren, do you want to tell the folks what they have to look forward to in the next episode?
Yeah, we're going to keep the finance and money train going and, take the approach if you have gotten to the point where maybe outsourcing might be something that you need to look at. Maybe it is going to make sense for your business. We're going to talk about how we evaluate when we outsource, how we know who to choose or what system to choose or what company to choose, and how we make that integrate into the business while keeping overhead low, but efficiency high. So check with us for the next episode to get more information about how to run a law firm in 2025.